Malcolm Crawford, ex-Navy, decorated, honored. But none of those medals paid the bills. The economy, it was a fickle beast. Jobs were scarce, even for a man who could dismantle a torpedo in his sleep. He walked the streets, shoulders squared, chin held high. But inside, a knot of worry tightened with each passing day. He'd sent out resumes, sat through interviews that felt more like interrogations. The answer was always the same. "We'll be in touch." A polite dismissal. He needed a win, something to get him back on his feet. One afternoon, a faded help wanted sign flickered in a dusty window. Security guard. Not glamorous, but it was honest work. He walked through the door, a nod of determination replacing the worry in his gut. He aced the interview. The manager, a man with eyes that seemed to have seen too much, saw something in Malcolm. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, the quiet confidence of a man who had stared down danger. Whatever it was, Malcolm was hired on the spot. His new mission guarding the ironclad doors of First National Bank. The bank was a fortress of marble and steel, a symbol of power and wealth. Malcolm patrolled its halls, his steps echoing in the silence. The work was monotonous, but he found solace in the routine, the familiar weight of his uniform, a different kind of uniform this time. One day a commotion near the vault caught his attention. Construction workers bustled about, their voices echoing off the high ceilings. He approached cautiously, his hand instinctively hovering near his sidearm. "Just some renovations," a worker said, wiping sweat from his brow. He gestured to a set of blueprints unrolled on a table. Malcolm's eyes scanned the lines, his pulse quickening. It wasn't just renovations. The blueprints revealed a hidden network of tunnels beneath the bank, service tunnels leading to the vault. The worker, oblivious to Malcolm's realization, continued talking, but Malcolm was no longer listening. He had seen enough. His mind raced, piecing together the possibilities. These tunnels, they were a vulnerability, a weakness in the bank's impenetrable facade. The pink slip came as no surprise. Officially, it was for unnecessary questioning of personnel. Unofficially, Malcolm knew it was because he had seen too much. The blueprints, the tunnels, they were secrets meant to stay buried. He walked out of the bank, the weight of unemployment heavier this time. But something had changed. The sight of those tunnels had sparked an idea, a dangerous and audacious plan. As he walked home, a police cruiser pulled up beside him. Officer Blake, a man whose sneer was as polished as his badge, leaned out the window. "Crawford, isn't it? Heard you were back on the streets. Just wanted to remind you to stay out of trouble." Malcolm said nothing, his jaw clenched tight. He knew Blake's type, men who enjoyed wielding their power, especially over those they deemed beneath them. He continued walking, ignoring Blake's parting words, "Don't forget who runs this town." Malcolm's blood ran cold, but his resolve hardened. He would show Blake, show them all, what a veteran was capable of. Malcolm's apartment became his war room. He studied the city maps, tracing the path of the sewer system, his fingers dancing over the grid. He knew the tunnels beneath the bank would connect to the city's underbelly, a labyrinth of forgotten passages. He spent his days at the library, poring over books on engineering, architecture, even plumbing. He needed to know everything about those tunnels, their layout, their weaknesses. His military training kicked in, the discipline, the strategic thinking, honed to a razor's edge. He scouted the bank, noting the guard rotations, the delivery schedules, the rhythm of the city above. He knew every camera angle, every blind spot. He was a ghost, observing, planning, preparing for his moment. He needed a distraction, something to draw attention away from his true objective. That's when he remembered the local gang, the Hawks, known for their petty thefts and disregard for the law. They were the perfect scapegoats, their reputation preceding them. The night of the heist arrived, cloaked in a blanket of fog. The city slept, oblivious to the drama unfolding beneath its streets. Malcolm, dressed in black, slipped into the sewer system. He moved with the grace of a phantom, his footsteps muffled by the murky water. He reached the access point, a rusted metal grate hidden beneath debris. He worked quickly, his tools whispering against the metal. The grate creaked open, revealing the darkness beyond. He took a deep breath, the metallic tang of fear mixing with the sewer air. This was it. No turning back. The tunnel opened into a small, forgotten maintenance room within the bank. Malcolm could hear the faint hum of electricity, the steady ticking of a clock on the wall. He was inside. He moved through the deserted corridors, a shadow flitting past empty desks and silent computers. The bank, so imposing in the daylight, felt vulnerable now. stripped bare by the darkness. He reached the vault, its heavy steel door gleaming under the dim emergency lights. He attached a small silent drill to the keypad, its high-pitched whine barely audible above the hum of the bank's systems. The lock clicked open, a testament to his meticulous planning. The vault door swung open, revealing rows upon rows of safety deposit boxes, their contents a mystery waiting to be unveiled. He had struck gold, not the glittering bars of his imagination, but something far more valuable, the means to rewrite his future. Malcolm worked swiftly, his movements precise and practiced. He emptied the contents of the safety deposit boxes into duffel bags, his heart pounding in his chest. He left behind anything traceable, focusing on cash, jewelry, and bearer bonds. He planted evidence, carefully placing tools and gloves belonging to the Hawks near the vault entrance. He even sprayed the air with their signature cologne, a cheap, musky scent he had purchased from a pawn shop. Everything had to point to them, the perfect fall guys. He rigged a small explosive device near the vault entrance, nothing too destructive, just enough to create a diversion, a fiery spectacle to draw attention away from his escape route. He set the timer, his eyes fixed on the glowing numbers. Time was running out. With the last bag slung over his shoulder, he melted back into the shadows, leaving behind the ticking clock and the planted evidence. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic rhythm urging him towards freedom. Section 8. Justice. Misdirected. The explosion rocked the bank, a thunderclap that shattered the night's silence. Alarms blared, their shrill cries echoing through the empty streets. Malcolm watched from a safe distance as police cars, sirens screaming, converged on the bank. He could almost see Blake's smug face illuminated by the flashing lights as he surveyed the scene. The planted evidence, the Hawks' calling card, it would all add up to an open and shut case. Justice, swift and misguided, would be served. He slipped away unnoticed, blending into the early morning crowds gathering at the edge of the police cordon. He could hear snippets of their conversations, whispers of disbelief, and the thrill of vicarious excitement. A news crew arrived, their cameras capturing the chaos. The reporter spoke in hushed tones, her words carried on the wind. Sources say the Hawks are responsible for the blast, millions in cash and valuables stolen. Malcolm smiled, the plan was working flawlessly. Section 9. Vanishing Act. Malcolm made his way to the rendezvous point, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. He had chosen it carefully, a place forgotten by time and easily overlooked. He wasn't alone. Two figures emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured by the dim light. They were young, barely out of their teens, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. They were the reason he had taken the risk, the reason he had orchestrated this elaborate heist. He had seen them while scouting the bank, two homeless siblings, their faces etched with hunger and desperation. He had overheard their conversation, their dreams of a better life, a life beyond the streets. He had seen a reflection of himself in their eyes, the same desperation, the same yearning for a second chance. He couldn't save everyone, but he could save them. Section 10. Freedom's Engine. You did it? The girl asked, her voice barely a whisper. Malcolm nodded, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips. We did it. He tossed them each a duffel bag. This is your ticket to a new life. Get as far away from here as you can. Start over. Make something of yourselves. He handed them a set of keys. There's a car waiting outside. It's loaded with supplies, food, cash. Enough to get you started. He pointed to a map taped to the dashboard. Head south. Lay low for a while. And whatever you do, don't ever come back here. The siblings stared at him, their eyes wide with gratitude and disbelief. They had gone from living on the streets to holding the keys to their future, all thanks to this stranger, this ex-Navy man who had risked everything for them. The engine roared to life, its sound a symphony of freedom. Malcolm watched as they drove away, their taillights disappearing into the pre-dawn darkness. He had given them a chance he had been denied. Section 11. A new crew, a new dawn. Malcolm stood alone in the abandoned warehouse, the echo of the car's engine fading into the silence. He had nothing but the clothes on his back and the satisfaction of a job well done. He was a ghost, erased from the city's memory. By the time the police connected the dots, he would be long gone. He would become a phantom, a legend whispered among the city's down and out. He had traded his old life for a chance to make a difference. As the sun rose, Malcolm walked away, his heart filled with a newfound sense of freedom. He didn't know what the future held, but he was ready to face it. and his story was just beginning.